Okay, so we're going to be solving two-step equations. First of all, let's look into what makes something a two-step equation. Write this equation. 4 times x, take away 8, equals 24. Okay, write that down, please. And let's do yellow. Okay, so we have two numbers I want us to focus on. The number that goes here where 4 is, and this number here, technically -8. Okay, now we have specific names for these numbers in these locations. This one we've been using a lot. They both start with a C, but the number that's multiplying with a variable, does anyone? Coefficient. That's our coefficient. This number also starts with a C. It's called a constant. So we have a coefficient and a constant. Coefficient could be, like an integer, like 4 or -4. Also, if we're dividing by 4, it would be 1/4. I think we talked a little bit about that. So it's always a coefficient that's with x, or whatever our variable is. Why do you think we call this a constant? Constant stays the same all the time. Any thoughts as to why? Billy?
Because it's just a whole number. It doesn't have any exponents or variables attached to it.
Yeah. It's just a whole number that's being added or subtracted. And so it's constant. Whereas here, because of the variable, it varies the coefficient. Okay? So let's talk about the steps to solve a two-step equation. Because there's always a question, okay, do we get rid of, for example, the 8 first, or -8, or do we get rid of the 4 first? Do we get rid of the coefficient? Do we get rid of the constant? So we're going to write down the steps to solve this. Let's pick another color. Let's say steps to solve a two-step equation. Now, there's another type of two-step equations that come up from time to time, not as often, and we'll deal with those tomorrow. All right, here we go. Step number 1. You always add or subtract. To remove a constant. So the first thing we always want to do in this order is add or subtract to remove a constant. Think of it this way. We know PEMDAS, right? Order of operations. And normally adding and subtracting has the least priority. It's done last. We're undoing basically PEMDAS when we're solving equations. So we're working at it in reverse. So the first thing we want to do is add or subtract, unless there's some sort of grouping symbol. And we'll get into that tomorrow. But this is going to work for all of today's equations. All right, number 2. We're going to divide or multiply to remove a coefficient. Okay, I think we used purple for the coefficient. We sure did. Okay. And that's it. After you've done these two steps with transformations, we should have an answer. So let's get right to it. Let's solve a few two-step equations. Today's assignment isn't going to be on IXL or Delta or anything. I'm going to give you this worksheet. There's room underneath because I want to see that you're doing the steps that we're going to follow here, okay? So if I don't see the steps done, if all I see are answers, I can't give you credit on this, all right? So let's begin. Number one. Let's start with this equation here. 4x minus 8 equals 24. And maybe you've already figured it out in your head, whatnot. That's fine, but I want us to go through these steps, okay? And our first step is going to be, since it's a minus, negative, or subtraction, however you want to think about it, we're going to use a positive or addition. So we're going to add on both sides. The only value that zeroes out minus 8, which is plus 8. You can think of it as positive 8. That's the same thinking. Well, let's see here. Bring down 4x. We're going to zero this out. It cancels. And then we have 24 plus 8, 32. And now we're going to do the next step. We're going to divide to remove the coefficient, which is 4. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to divide by 4. And as we all know, 32 fourths or 32 divided by 4 is 8. And that's it. Done with that one. Now they'll get a little more complex in this, but this is the basic idea. Okay, number 2. 2b minus 29 equals negative 49. Okay. And let's remove the constant. I see it as negative 29. So what gets rid of negative 29?
Oh, is that a positive?
Yeah. So we're constantly just using the rules for integer addition. So here I have negative 49 plus positive 29. And that's going to give me what? Negative 20. So now let's all divide by 2. And the answer is negative 10. Question. How can I make sure that's the right answer? If, like, say my life depended on this answer being negative 10. Yes? Yeah. Put the negative 10 in for B. So I'd have 2 times negative 10. That's negative 20. Negative 20 take away 29. Lo and behold is negative 49. Okay. So I'd like you to try this one. Number 3. 1 minus 4m equals negative 23. But I want you to do it with these steps. Get rid of the constant, get rid of the coefficient, so we can get our answer. So do those 2 transformations on number 3. Okay? Problems?